All right. Welcome. This is Unlock the Middle Navigating Leadership AP Roundtable. This is number 7. And tonight we're talking about the role of the assistant principal and trying to focus on what we do in our chair. We have some outstanding assistant principals from across the country joining us tonight to have this conversation. I'm very excited for this. This is something that we've been connecting with for some time. And because we were on vacation last week, we had a week off. These folks have been waiting to jump in here, and I know they're chomping at the bit to share their story. If this is your first time watching, please understand the goal here is we are talking as assistant principals from our chair, trying to connect and to grow and to learn together. The assistant principal's chair is probably one of the most important in the school. We wear so many different hats, we do so many different things, and we want to share our experiences, our passions, connect with other assistant principals and those aspiring to be assistant principals. I'm AJ Bianco. I'm starting my second year as an assistant principal, and I am excited for what is going to be my first full year in my school building here in New Jersey, and I can't wait to get started. If you are watching us, please make sure you are commenting. I see our guy, Josh Tovar, in the chat. Josh, what's up? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your support, as always. If you're watching, drop a comment, interact with us. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us what you're thinking. We want to connect with you. We want to learn from you. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure you share this out. Connect with us on social media. We will share our handles and all that good stuff as we go through. So now, enough of me talking. I'm going to send this around the horn. We have a great guest here, our 4 awesome APs. I'm going to start right next to me. Myron, why don't you introduce yourself for the crew?
Sure, AJ, thanks. Myron Dewick. I'm coming to you from Summerland, British Columbia, Canada. They allow Canadians on this thing, apparently. And so, hey, here I am. I've been assistant principal for, I guess it's going on 12 years now, on and off, both on a district level and based on in a school. So about 10 of that has been vice principal of the high school, and 2 of it has been vice principal for communicating student learning in my district. So kind of 2 ways of wearing a hat. And some people might know me as an ASCD author.
You can plug that. Go ahead. Tell us a little about that. It's okay.
Right before taking my first AP role, I wrote Grading Smarter, Not Harder. It's somewhere around here. And January 2021, Giving Students a Say came out. Super excited about that. But I could easily speak about the role that book has played for me as an AP. It's one of the reasons that I've stuck around as an AP. I'm able to travel to schools and be an administrator. It's worked out.
Excellent. Trevor, introduce yourself to the group here.
Hey, good evening, y'all. I'm Trevor Timmerberg. So I am a director of students, which is an assistant principal equivalent down in Louisville, Kentucky, in a private Catholic high school. First half of my education experience as an educator was in the big public school district down here, and then the second half has been as an educator and now as a school leader in an administrative role at this private Catholic high school. Going into my second year, similar to AJ, feels like starting over, but in a totally different way. So last year was a neat little learning curve for everyone, not only for a new position, but for all the extra things that we got to do while we were learning that. So I'm excited to be back in school this year and have school full of kids. And I've been really blessed to have some great mentors and people that I work with to kind of show me the ropes and also be very gracious with me as I'm learning. So I'm excited to learn from all the people here tonight and continue the conversation of how we can get better, serve our students.
Love it, Trevor. Thank you. Jonathan, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, AJ. I appreciate it. My name is Jonathan Stephanopoulos. I am going into my 4th year as an assistant principal. I'm an assistant principal in the Boone County School District, Erpenbeck Elementary School. We're the 3rd largest school district in the state of Kentucky. And, it's been an awesome opportunity for me. I feel like each year I've kind of gained confidence and I've been able to learn from colleagues and people in my district, and then even through platforms like Voxer and Twitter. So that's why I've connected with AJ, and we've been kind of learning from each other for a while. So I'm looking forward to tonight and continuing to learn from you guys.
There you go. I love it, Jonathan. And last but not least, Rosie, why don't we kick it over to you?
Hey, I'm Rosie Burke, and I just finished day 10 of being an AP. So very brand new at Cedar Lane Elementary in Middletown, Delaware. And I know, AJ, you're saying, we've got a lot of different people here, especially aspiring administrators. So I will say this is day 10 for me, but I actually got my degree and been looking for administration since 2010. So for a very long time, and I just want to say to all the people who have been in that same boat as me, you know what they say about fit and timing. It doesn't feel that way when you're getting rejected, and keep trying, but it's all about fit and timing. And like this position, this school district, this school, it feels right. So I'm super excited about that. And it's just one of those things you kind of hate hearing it over and over again, like just keep trying, because years of trying is hard, but man, when you get it, it really is about fit and timing. So I just wanted to put that out there for all of our aspiring administrators.
Rosie, that's so true. I'm in the same boat. I was 6 years. I was waiting for this position, and I interviewed how many times over those 6 years, and everything. I was like, oh, this is gonna be mine. This is gonna be the fit. This is it. This is me. And then rejection. But finally, in the position where I feel I should be. So I'm glad you feel like you should be there, and hopefully, everybody else here and those out there listening, like, yes, this is what I wanted. And
you and I connected.
Yeah.
Some boxer discussions about that too, both being in that same boat. But I feel the same way. I'm super excited for this year.
Yep. Everybody says fit is nonsense, but it is legit, and it's got to be the right one. That's it. All right. So let's kick this off, right? We did our introductions. Everybody can say hello, and we can get our conversation going here. So one of the things that we do here on Navigating Leadership in the AP Roundtable is really talk about the different hats that we wear. Like, every AP role is completely different. None of us are probably doing the same thing. So let's just talk about real quick, what are your primary responsibilities in your AP role? And I know if you're new to the chair and you haven't done anything yet, what do you envision as your job responsibilities, and what have you been told? So we'll start with that one. So Myron, why don't we start with you, since you're right next to me, and we'll kick it around the table. So what are your responsibilities as an AP?
Well, I often say to people, I think AP is one of the more complicated jobs on the planet. Like we said, we wear so many hats. But I guess I have a bit of a unique position in my school. I a lot of it's I don't like the term instructional leadership, because I think our teachers are our instructional leaders, but I'm there to support them. I do things like running an assessment group of interested staff in our school. It gives me a chance to get through classrooms a lot. I endeavor, because I'm in so many classrooms, working with teachers on a project. Maybe I spell them off for a little bit and talk to their class while they go get something done. But that's one of the things I've really worked on in my school is being there to supply some of those articles if somebody is struggling and said, Myron, have you found anything on this? I mean, I'm really, this idea of, say, desirable difficulties is super interesting. What do you got? And I go fishing around for that and bring it into their classroom and help support that instruction. So that's one of the things I do of many.
So are you mainly focused on that aspect of the instruction, or do you deal with discipline as well, or is there more hats that you wear? Okay.
Yeah, no, we often split it by grade. Just to give you an idea, I mean, some people might laugh at this. Pretty relatively small high school, 450 kids, so it was not a bad size. I try to be first level discipline in my school. What I always ask teachers, if it comes to attendance or anything like that, if you can make the first contact home, include me in that email, and then I take it from there if it continues to be an issue. For many years, I ran facility, fire drills, evacuation, working with systems for that. When I got to one school, when we go on the fire drill, they would send out a little slip of paper with their initials on it. My class is okay. So I started working on a system for how do we know who's in. Do we have a set form? So that's so many things. We're building a new gym at our school, and I've been put in charge of kind of being, not in charge of, but the principal has really kind of got that in his portfolio to make sure I'm in touch with the contractors, district staff about that. So that's going to be a big project going on in our school this year.
That's interesting. I like that. I appreciate that. That's a lot of different hats that you're wearing there. And apologize for the background noise. We have a little background noise. So if you guys want to mute until you want to speak, I apologize for that. But Myron, thank you for sharing all that. I know that's it's a lot. I like that first contact. That's definitely, as Dean and Chris saying here, it's added rule. So
Yeah.
I like that.
And really quickly, AJ, one of the reasons I brought that in probably 7 years ago in my job is I found myself the parents going, well, this is the first I heard of it. Why didn't the teacher contact me? So that's been a really, really good nugget for me to kind of let teachers know. Let me know how that first contact went.
Mm-hmm.
Include me in the conversation if you need to be, but I don't want to be the first person, if at all possible.
Understood. Trevor.
Yeah.
Tell us about your 2 years in the AP role. What is your responsibility? Where are you at?
Yeah. So I'm in a high school that's about 1,250 students. But man, I truly feel in my heart of hearts, and why I'm in education is I'm there to love my kids. I'm there to make sure that the reflection they see of themselves in me is that I think they can do anything and everything. And I think that's the primary drive that I have every day, is that I want every interaction with my students, whether it's corrective or encouragement or whatever it is, I want them to feel like they are built up, and that I'm encouraging them in what we're doing. And sometimes encouragement looks a little bit more like corrective discipline. So, I think Myron touched on really eloquently on a lot of the facets of an AP. If the way I kind of visualize it is I think of the principal, the leader of the school, they're driving, and the APs are kind of, working as the engine to make sure that we're getting things in the right place, and we're working cohesively, making sure that the teachers have what they need. We're serving the teachers so that ultimately we can fulfill the needs of our students. If students are our primary goal, then taking care of our teachers has got to be, neck and neck with that as we move forward, because you're not taking care of kids if you're not taking care of the teachers that are serving them, day in and day out in the classroom. That's Myron talked about the first contact should be from the teachers. Yeah, that's who knows their students best in our buildings, and we're there to support and augment that. I would say my primary responsibilities kind of fall into two categories: is attendance management and making sure students are where they're supposed to be, so the logistical side of student activity, but also the discipline side. And I like to jokingly say that instead of a director of students, I'm a director of culture, because I think focusing on the culture creates this momentum that allows discipline to take place within self-reflection and in students, so that we alleviate some of the, for lack of a better phrase, slap on the wrist after the fact. And we help students understand how they're getting into those positions, or how they're getting in those circumstances where they do something that maybe is less desirable, and we have some corrective action in response. But that only comes from building those relationships with students and making sure that they know who you are, and you know who they are, and how you can support them. Because at the end of the day, if we're not there for students as our primary goal, then I feel like we can't properly do all those other aspects of the job. So, sorry, I get a little excited when I start talking about getting to serve our kids, but I would say at the end of the day, it's to love on these kids, and just to let them see who we think they can be, and who it helps show them how they can do that moving forward.
Yeah, Trevor, you never have to apologize for that, right? Because we're in this for the kids. As Josh, one of our people for the principals roundtable, Josh Tovar, he always says, we're in the people business, right? And we're here for the kids. We got into teaching because we love our content, we love our students, and as APs, as principals, if we lose that vision, then we're done. We're here for the kids. We're here for the teachers, of course, but the kids first. They have to feel welcome. They have to feel like the school is their school, and that we are there for them. So never apologize for that. But I'm really intrigued by your self-reflection with your students. How do you get them to reflect when they come and talk to you? What do you do to have them think and speak and act on, their, I guess we'll say, behavior, since you're director of students?
Sure. Yeah, I think primary point one is, do I know them? Because knowing my students helps me understand what their motivations are, right? So you can understand behavior a lot of times when you swim back the other direction of the river, and where's the momentum coming from? How did we get to where we are now? So do I know them? Do I know anything about their family? Have I talked and spent time with them outside of an interaction that I am just coming across as a person that provides discipline, and discipline kind of becomes this 4-letter word essentially. But I think, so that's point one, is that, do I know them? Do I already have a healthy, teacher, student, adult, child relationship with the student? Because if we don't have that trust, if we don't have that open line of communication, it doesn't matter what kind of things I say or ask or do. It's going to be kind of transactional versus transformational. But then for me, I like to put myself in their position. I'm saying, okay, help me understand how we got here. And a lot of times when students have time and space and someone that wants to hear them out, then they get a chance to arrive at their own understanding of the situation. A lot of times they'll be more hard on themselves than any sort of, punishment, corrective action, anything that we can instill after the fact. And that's a learning moment. And, sometimes we look at detention as a viable option, but, if they offended somebody, how about writing an apology? How about teaching something that they can take with them and apply to the rest of their life, maybe in a relationship with a family member, a future spouse, or an employer? Let's give them tools and not just, something to deal with the right now. Let's think long term and how we're going to transform these young humans into the people that we want to admire.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Relationships first and always. That's the way we make things happen. Thank you, Trevor, for sharing that. Jonathan, let's go down to you. Why don't you tell us about your responsibilities and the hats you wear in the AP role?
Yeah. So, within my 3 years, starting my 4th year, I've had several roles. Mainly they kind of fall under discipline and safety. Also kind of responsible for the operations aspect of that as well. So, for me, I kind of have a similar approach as Trevor. Really try to be proactive and positive in developing my relationships with my students, especially, the ones that, the teachers kind of have a negative sense of, or kind of just a negative understanding about. I really try to build into those students and change the teacher's mindset. There's as they go from one grade to the next, it's kind of, sometimes it's, oh, you got that student. I try to change the script and say, this is a great opportunity for you to build into the student and make a difference. And so, I think generally speaking, our school, we have a great culture, and we've kind of gotten away from that. And, each day, really each year is a fresh start. But, for me, it's each day is a fresh start. So, so that's kind of my approach for discipline. I'm kind of with, Trevor in the sense of using some of those restorative practices, and how can you repair that damage? How can you repair that relationship? Sometimes it's in detention through a letter, because that instructional time is valuable too. So but it's not necessarily the detention that I may have been assigned once or twice in school, where you just sit there and you just wait for the time to pass. But for me, I try to make it valuable and productive, and also kind of changing the stereotype from, if a kid is in my office, sometimes it's automatically a negative thing. And I really try to, make it a positive sometimes. So, sometimes it may be a hard conversation. Other times I'm just checking in, seeing how their game was, seeing how their, family's doing. So, even from times when I'm calling parents, it's when they hear me, it's kind of a natural or negative response. Mm-hmm. And so I'm able to kind of talk about, why I'm calling, and trying to just really be proactive about developing that relationship. So really trying to end the stereotype of anytime kids are in the principal's office, it being negative. And that's something I'm, kind of passionate about. But also, Myron kind of touched on that, the safety aspect. I'm responsible for that. One thing I'm proud of that I've been working on for the last 3 years is providing. My school was built in 1998, so we were kind of due for a new playground. So, along with our PTSO and our community, we've worked hard, and we just recently developed and built a new inclusive playground. So, we have several, students with disabilities and special needs that were limited on our playground, maybe not able to navigate throughout the structure. And, that's something that our school, really wanted to take on and try to change that. So we just got the structure. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for really just the last piece, and we're ready to open that up for the students. My next part of that will be working on the surface so that it's fully accessible for our students in walkers and wheelchairs. So that's the next piece. But I don't know if you guys have any any experience with playgrounds. If it has playground attached to it, it's not cheap. So that's it's been a huge undertaking, but I'm really proud of our community and really proud of what we've accomplished and what we've done. But like I said, there's some other things. I've been ARC chair 1 year and tried to free up some of our counselors so that they could spend more time counseling students. So whatever I can do, I feel like to answer the question, I guess my job is to make my principal look good. My job is to support and work with parents. My job is to empower students and teachers. So, all those things, I feel like, it kind of just falls under, those three things. So, I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to really empower our students and our teachers and to kind of be that liaison from, with our parents and our community, with our schools. So sometimes parents and families have a negative kind of feeling about school. So we work hard to kind of bridge that and make our school as welcoming as possible. So hopefully that kind of answers your question.
Man, Jonathan, you like the comment here says from Dean and Chris, you hit all the bases. Dude, I'm sitting here writing this stuff down. You hit everything there. Like the inclusivity. That's so important right now. It's always important, obviously, but it's right now, especially when we're looking at the equity piece of what education should be. You're talking SEL. I mean, you're talking discipline. One thing you said that really hits me is that negative connotation of what the principal's office is. I think it's so important that we knock that and we get rid of that. Right. A lot of our kids sometimes will feel more comfortable coming to our office and talking to us than they do talking to a school counselor. Yeah. So when a kid says, I need to go to the principal's office or the assistant principal's office, it should not be because they're in trouble. It should be because they need to talk to somebody. They need that connection. And we're the ones that they trust. This is not always a discipline thing. It's a come hang out here. So when teachers are saying, I'm sending you to the principal's office, well, great. There goes that relationship we're trying to build. So, man, you're hitting all things here. So thank you for sharing all that. And well done. Very well done.
Thank you.
Now, Jonathan, real quick, the school that you're at, were you a teacher in that school?
Yes, sir. So I was a special education teacher for 6 years. So for me, it's a little difficult because I don't really have the perspective of coming from other schools and kind of comparing it. Mm-hmm. We're at I'm at an amazing school with, a great community. So it's interesting to hear other teachers from, either from other districts or even from within our own district. So naturally they just kind of compare the schools. But for me, I've just been blessed enough to, be at one school and to kind of see the growth from, our community and our teachers. So I'm just lucky to play just a small part in that, that increase in student achievement and really beyond that, just developing productive young students and making them, really just building into their character. So, I've been at my school since 2012. And I've been able to kind of just step into this admin role. So that's been kind of interesting as well.
That's good. You still can build a climate and culture from what you know and what you want to see. So that's wonderful. All right, Rosie, you are the longest tenured AP here. So let's hear everything that you do in the 10 days that you've been an AP at your school.
Well, obviously, I'm just learning everything. And so I do have to give a shout out to my principal, Dr. Gerard Phillips, because that was awesome. So just kind of getting acclimated and everything. Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
I was. I didn't realize you were working with Dr. Phillips. That's the principal you work with?
That is.
Oh, my goodness. You are lucky.
His position. He's the principal now, and I took his AP position.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we are. So you already know.
I know Gerard. I love him.
We got some things going, some ideas flowing. So he and
I. So go ahead. Spill it. Tell us.
We've been working together. So I don't know if there's any specific things. Like, obviously, like I know I'll be part of the safety team and different things like that. But I just know, having discussions with Brad, I know the ideas for both of us to be in classrooms supporting teachers. I know the interviews I was, talking about earlier, that it's just really kind of frustrating having waited so long to be able to be given this opportunity. And I think there's this connotation where it's like, oh, you've been teaching too long, you just have to stay in the classroom. So, I mean, I'll be upfront. I've just finished my 18th year in the classroom. So I know that's not usual for an administrator to have that much classroom experience, but I really think it's going to bring something to the table for teachers, even just recently I taught during COVID and everything. And so I really, kind of told the teachers at the interviews that were there and talked to Gerard that I'm really looking to just support teachers. Like, what can I do to enhance or bring what I have in my toolbox to help you? And I know specifically for me, I've been successful with bringing an equity lens to lessons, and I've taught kindergarten, first, fourth, fifth, and even talking about real life events that are happening that, social unrest that you can have those discussions, social justice discussions, even with a 6-year-old. And I've done that, and just helping how a lot of teachers are uncomfortable with that. Like, let me tell you what I've done in my classroom, which was just 2 years ago, bringing some trauma sensitive practices in the classroom. I have 7 years working at a day treatment center, which was a step right before students would go to like residential treatment, and just kind of helping out with just my vast experience in the classroom, and really just being that support for whatever it is that you need, instructional technology, just anything, just being able to say, oh, I remember this, and this is practically and realistically what it could look like in your classroom, or you have an idea, let me see what I can do to help with that. So like I said, 10 days right now, just trying to be as supportive to teachers as my principal has been to me right now in these last 10 days.
Yeah, Rose, that's so important. You say 18 years in the classroom. I had 14 years in the classroom. So I think it kind of gives us a different perspective. And you're saying that you were able to teach during COVID, and you're doing the hybrid learning and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. So I feel like teachers can look at that and say, you really know what you're talking about. You are not a 5-year teacher and then you're done. Now, there's anything wrong with that. That's the minimum that we can have in New Jersey. You can do 5 years and then hit the admin trail. So having that longevity in the classroom is really important. And you're not just bringing like instruction. You just mentioned ed tech. You talked about trauma. You talked about equity and social justice. That is more important than anything that you can do from a textbook and talking about curriculum.
I think it's so often that, teachers will sit at PDs or hear somebody, and after going through different cycles of new initiatives, it's always, one of the complaints about teachers is, but you don't know what it's like in the classroom. When's the last time you've been there? And it's like, well, actually, you know what? I remember something similar. This is what I did. It may not be the same, but yeah.
Can I throw something in, AJ?
You can speak whenever you want to.
On that note, just like from maybe, I don't know about a Canadian perspective, but at least for British Columbia here, it's exceptionally rare to have somebody go into admin who doesn't have 10 to 15 years of classroom experience.
Oh, wow.
Quite rare. And the other thing that I've managed to do myself, and I know this is maybe going to sound like crazy talk, but through many of my years of being an AP, I continue to teach one class. And some people like,
that's awesome.
When I mentioned that at a conference or something, like, have you been hit on the head with an anvil or what? Like, why would you do something like that? And it's not easy at all. But through the COVID, this last year, I taught a leadership class in the mornings, Thursday mornings from 7:30 till 8:30 a.m. outside the timetable class. And it's just, I think it's important to keep your feet grounded a little bit in instruction, and also gives you a chance when you say to teachers, well, here's what I'm experiencing in my class right now. It's just that little bit of credibility and a little bit of grounding, which really comes in handy.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. I think it's so important for us to be in the classroom, whether it is in the classroom with students or teaching a class. I think it's so important. I know, a friend of the show who was on here a couple episodes, Tim Cavey, also Canadian friend, so he's up there in the BC area. He teaches part-time math, and he's the AP. So I don't know how he juggles that between those responsibilities of teaching and grading, and then doing discipline and working with teachers that he might have to kind of discipline themselves. So that is very difficult to have that team, and then to have them as his colleague. It's very strange to me, but I think it's really important that we as leaders are in a classroom, are teaching. I would love that. Do anybody, Trevor, you said, I thought you nodded. Do you teach a class as well?
Yeah. So one of the unique things about the way our school is structured, I think it is wisdom beyond our years, really, that everybody in the building, all the administrative staff, everyone teaches at least one class for each semester, including our principal. And up until the last couple of years, even our president, we have a principal-president model given the nature of being the private Catholic school. But it really sets a cool precedent, and it allows us to support teachers better. And one of the things I love about it is like I get to have more interactions with students outside of my office or outside of a parent conversation that, you know, maybe something different. And, you know, it also humanizes us in a way, because it's real easy to look one, or to appear one way and be perceived one way, I should say, from that ivory tower office that kind of the longer you spend in administration, the almost more separate you get from the teacher groups. And you're like, no, I'm one of you. We're in this together. But yeah, being able to teach a class, just like Myron was saying, I think is such a massive blessing to one, stay sharp as far as understanding the students. It's a whole lot better to serve the students if you're with them and you know what's going on in the classroom, but then also support our teachers. You know, we can't effectively do our job of fulfilling the mission and vision of the school leader that we follow with our principal and everyone if we don't know how to do that, because we don't know what our teachers need or what our students are asking for.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly important. I think you said it right there, the last part, supporting the mission and the vision of our school by being part of the classroom to show, you know, this is what we understand and this is what we're going to do. Jonathan, do you teach a class? I don't know if I thought you don't teach a class.
I was just agreeing that, you know,
okay.
that's important and that's helpful, but that's something I need to ponder and see if that's something we can work out. But I think, you know, you guys all hit it on the head. It does offer a layer of credibility and just staying connected with your staff and your teachers. I think that's critical.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Something that jumped out at me, I got to give a shout out to Jonathan. Jonathan, you mentioned positive contacts with parents. And you know, I've really tried in my job recently to look for reasons to call home early on in the year, especially for students that have struggled in the past. And I had an incredibly powerful moment this year when I found a reason. Like, I looked for it and I definitely found a legit reason to call a parent. And first she said that she thought I had the wrong number because I was complimenting her son. Secondly, the phone just went quiet and she had to gather herself. And she said, my son is in grade 11 and I've never had a positive phone call home. And that was like, wow. And to be a part of that moment is both, it's rewarding, but it's also it's sad that it's taken that long to make a positive call. So I just want to share that's been a wisdom for me, you know. And you're right, AJ, those frequent flyers, find a reason to call home. And what one administrator told me, that's like putting money, you're investing money, you're putting money in the bank, you're going to draw on that money one day, but at least you've got a positive call in the works, and that parent may react differently when you have to call about maybe a not so good news item.
It's a people profit. You're investing in it. And I heard someone else say this, so I don't want to take credit for it. It's that, how can you correct if you haven't connected? Yeah. And I think a lot of times we look at discipline, and a lot of the discipline falls on the assistant principal role. And I think it's a great place for it to be, because I think we're you know, kind of in the trenches with them enough to be able to, you know, interact and provide value from those corrections. But I do think a lot of times we have the intention of cooperation with students, but really sometimes we don't realize that we're asking for compliance.
Right.
And those are very closely related, but there's a different shift. When someone's being compliant, they're doing it because they're just pleasing you. Cooperation is that cohesiveness where we get to actually work together, and especially if you include students on building and establishing expectations for your classroom, you can say stuff like, do we do that in here? As opposed to, down, quit blurting out, and all these negative reinforcing statements. But who are we? Is that what we decided? And obviously, as veteran teachers, you know, I've been learning so much from you all tonight. But you all know that the best practice is to involve them, and you're steering them and helping guide them towards understanding what would look good in the classroom. But students get it. We see it all the time, and I think sometimes, like Myron was saying, it's hard that we don't give credit early enough, because if we did, how would that change the trajectory of that student's interactions with teachers moving forward, and maybe removing some of that, stripping away some of that those labels that get stuck to them. Maybe they're appropriate at the time, but kids grow. I mean, they're evolving so fast, like from day to day. Like what Jonathan said earlier, like every day is a new day. A student doesn't even remember what they did an hour ago sometimes. But we can hold on to it as educators and negatively impact their ability to kind of work themselves out of that. So awesome point, Myron. I really appreciate you saying that. And Jonathan touched on it earlier for sure.
Yeah, and I want to build on, kind of what Trevor said, but really it kind of comes down to compliance versus empathy, rules versus relationships, and even commitment versus, convenience. And we kind of have to remember that, it's the commitment to our students over convenience. Our kids are going to inconvenience us because they're kids, and that's just the learning process, and there's going to be teachable moments. But we have to kind of stick true to the commitment that we have to those students, to those teachers, and to the future. So even like I said, rules versus relationships, however you want to frame that. But I just wanted to build on what Trevor said. I think that's those are great points, Trevor.
Strong words, brother. I like that. Commitment or convenience. How much easier is it just say, hey, this is what they did. Here's a consequence, right? As opposed to that commitment to seeing it through, making that phone call home, like Myron was saying, being proactive, knowing who his students are so that he can provide that.
I'll throw one more term in the mix when you guys are talking rules and relationships, etc. One of the best principals I ever worked with said, policies just avoid difficult conversations. And you can steal that one if you want it, because you're going to bump into times where you go, well, listen, the policy reads, or listen, the policy is good for guidelines. Policy is good for certain things, but be careful, because policy is sometimes something that gets in the way of a difficult conversation that you need to have, and an important conversation. So I would tack that one on the list too.
It's wisdom right there.
It's
powerful.
I like that. It's so true. You don't think about that. Like we sometimes just use that as our excuse. Oh, that's just the policy. That's just what we have to do. But it really could go deeper than that. That's that coaching aspect. It's we wouldn't just tell it to a kid. Oh, that's the school. That's our rule. I said no gum chewing. That's my policy. That doesn't do anything for us. It doesn't help us in any way. I love that.
We had policy at one point that any kind of drug infraction, like if you had anything in your pocket, whatever, is automatic 3 to 5 day suspension. And when I had walked the 5th or 6th kid out to the parking lot to a vehicle where the parent is swearing at them, something gets thrown, the kid comes back saying I smoked dope the entire time I was away from school. I said, I think we have to change that district policy. And we moved to an in-school suspension system for our most at-risk kids, and connected them with an adult, got them a good lunch every day, and had them get caught up on their homework. So to heck with a policy if the policy is not getting you what you want to get. So that's kind of where that came from.
I appreciate that. It's another excuse to get rid of the kids who are the troublemaker kids, who are the frequent flyers, who, are just going to come back and do it again because they know they can go home. So we want our kids in school, as Dean and Chris say here. All right. So we are quickly heading towards our 45-minute promise. And I guess I apologize for that. I know some people have places to be and things to do, but I got to ask my last question. And Rosie, I'm going to start with you. So hopefully you have a good answer for this one. Okay. So one of the things that in our chair, right? We are passionate educators. We are passionate leaders. We have things we want to do for our schools and for our kids. That's why we're here. We want to help our kids, schools, teachers, families, so on and so forth. So I'm going to ask you, Rosie, starting with you. What is the one passion project that you want to bring forth to your school this year?
I think just in general, I think my passion for all kids is I really think that education is advocacy. And I don't think that we do enough of that in teaching kids how to speak up and speak out for themselves and for others. And so to me, that would be the big passion project. Just, you've given them the tools so that they can do so, but also creating that culture so they feel comfortable doing that. And to be able to, I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning adults, questioning the AP, and just really helping students become advocates for themselves and others and the world around them, and making sure that their voices are being heard.
Rosie, have you met Myron? Rosie, you got a little something behind the shelf you might want to take a look at, I think. Jonathan, what's your big passion project going forward for the school year?
Yeah, so I'll save you the easy answer and building on the playground and doing the surfacing. But I think with COVID and everything that our teachers and our students have experienced over the last year and a half, whatever, is to really focus on the SEL piece and the trauma piece. The social interactions have been so minimal. So we've had SEL as a special for. I think this may be the third year. I don't know, maybe fourth year. So for me, it's kind of refining and making sure we're being intentional about that. But it goes beyond just that specials time. It's really making sure that we're supporting and checking in with every student, making sure we're checking in with every teacher, because people have been through just so much, and we just kind of remember how isolated we felt. And so, I'm not sure what the future holds and what things are going to look like, but I just want to make sure that I continue to advocate for my students and our teachers and really just check on them beyond their time from 8:30 to 3:40.
Appreciate that, Jonathan. I think it's so important right now. Good stuff. Good stuff. You're killing it tonight, man. Trevor, big passion project for you this year.
Yeah. This is awesome. I love getting to hear about other educators' passions, how they're different, but really linked in the same vein there. I think at this time that we find ourselves in 2021, coming out of pandemic, everything that happened in 2020, I think diversity and inclusion is a massive asterisk that we need to pay attention to. And so at my school, we're working on developing a mentorship program with students that have come through our school, graduated, and gone to do a myriad of things outside in the community. Some that look, a little bit more systematic, like going to be a lawyer, doctor, those kind of things. But then also like restaurant owner, owning small business, working in the community, things like that. And so we're pairing up, or we're working to pair up our students of racial diversity and backgrounds and experiences with mentors that have gone through what they've gone through, and trying to create that inclusivity and that cohesion to develop better humans that can serve other people. Love doesn't have to look a certain way. It comes in a variety of ways. And I think pairing them up with students like that, and I'm fortunate enough to have my counterpart in my office, one of the other directors of students, and awesome teachers that are advocates for this, and have students that are pursuing this with purpose and vigor. And it's awesome to see. And I can't wait to see the traction that gains from this, now that we can have a little bit more normalcy with meeting and connecting with people. Virtual is awesome, and this is a great tool, but it's not the only tool. And I don't think we were designed for it alone. So we're doing a mentorship program specifically targeting that diversity and inclusion and building better humans to do awesome things.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And then we're going to have you come back midway through and see where your mentorship program is, see where you're at. I like that.
Oh, I'd love to show off my kids too. I don't know if that'll work out, but I would love to hear their voice.
Well, we'll figure something out, I promise.
All right.
Myron, how about you? What's your big passion project for this year going forward?
Probably a launch off of what Trevor's talking about. I must have said 7 times this week in various Zoom calls and meetings that equity is not a separate topic to the day-to-day of what we deal with in our schools. So kind of my passion project, I think, is going to be equity every day, and equity through our decisions around facility, equity I'm sure Jonathan would face in designing a playground, equity in where's the equity in grading rules when we have homework grades and some kids don't have a place to do homework? Where's equity in that conversation? Where's equity in the voice and choice in our school? So one passion project right out of the gates is probably going to be to look at September as an opportunity to give students feedback over grades, not run for the grade book right away. Some of these kids have hit a gap. They've not been in school. I think Trevor referred to that, and how do we meet them with empathy and with a sense of equity throughout our school in everything we do? It's not a separate topic.
I appreciate that. It's so true, so meaningful. Equity every day. I think that's the push going forward. I appreciate that. Well, we're going to end it there as we approach our 45-minute mark, and I hate to end this so abruptly. I just know people are kind of like tuning out, whatever they're doing. But thank you all for joining us. Why don't we go around real quick? Why don't you tell the audience where they could find you, and whether it's social media, email, however you want to get connected. Myron, we'll start with you, and then we'll just go around one more time.
Sure. At Myron Dewick on Twitter. MyronDewick.com for my books and resources. And if you seek out this book, every chapter's resources are free on my website. You do not need to buy a book, whether it's student-focused unit plans, student-generated rubrics. Giving students a say is there. MyronDewick.com. Feel free to check it out.
Awesome. Trevor, go ahead.
Hopefully you can find me in school and in the community serving the kids. But on social, just Twitter for me, Trevor Timmerberg, long name at Trevor_T Berg with an E.
There you go. Jonathan, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I use Twitter mostly, but you can find me at Mr. MR_S_EES. And, follow me on Twitter, and I'd love to follow you back and connect with other educators out there.
There you go. Rosie, how about you?
I am on Twitter too. So, and I know you tagged us also, but mine's just at Rosie Roslyn, ROSYROSELYNN. But just from all of this, the AJ tagged, I think you'll be able to find us there.
There you go. So if you want to go back and find everybody, you can check me out at AJ Bianco. We'll have everybody's Twitter somewhere linked to this video, and follow, of course, Unlock the Middle. Dean and Chris are there for you. And we look forward to more conversations going forward. We'll have these folks back another time, because there's so many things that I have written down in this notebook that I know that I have starred, that I said to come back to this. So after 45 minutes, appreciate all your time. Audience, thank you so much. You guys hang out there for 1 second. I'm going to end the broadcast. Thanks, everybody.
Congrats again, Rosie.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Everybody.
Good luck.